Good morning, Elle Ingalls here at pressure-free.com. Uh, a lot of times when I'm being interviewed on podcasts or for any kind of show, the podcaster will ask, how do people know if they could benefit from what you do? And one of the expressions I have is, well, let's lift up the hood. Let's lift up the hood and take a look and see what's going on. Because a lot of the people that I work with look very calm, very relaxed, very confident on the outside, but what's happening on the inside? So that's one of the things that I will do with someone when they're interested in learning more. And I thought I would just do a little series on lifting up the hood so that you have some ideas and you may see people that you know or love that could benefit from learning pressure free and taking the next step. Just recently, I had a client who got a wonderful promotion and also lost 7 pounds and wasn't even trying to, actually ate more during the holidays. So, what was that 7 pounds? It was caused by inflammation and caused by the release of these stress hormones. So, let's lift up the hood today. And the first thing I want to talk about is why is stress sometimes called the silent killer? It's very sneaky, number one, but it's not necessarily stress because I've met people who will tell me, I thrive on stress, I thrive on pressure, I love it. So what's the differentiator? You can be incredibly surrounded by stressors and challenges and pressure, especially if you're a leader of any kind. You could be a 14-year-old leading a team as a captain. It's just whatever that is. But the key is, are you triggering the stress response or not? So sometimes people can endure just a ton of pressure and stress and think, I love this. But let's lift up the hood to see, is anything affecting you? So again, a lot of these people look very calm and confident on the outside, but when we lift up the hood, we see some things. So we'll talk about the heart first because that's usually what people are talking about when they talk about, stress is a silent killer. It's working on your heart. So here's what's going down when it comes to the heart. Uh, Two different floods of hormones. The first flood of hormones, catecholamines, that's adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. That's going to release this right into the bloodstream from the center of the adrenal glands. And its purpose is to bring fat and glucose out of the extremities so you have a lot of energy to fight or run away. So that's what it's doing. And when it brings this fat and glucose to the center of the body, um, and we don't fight hard or flailingly run away, then this is just sitting here. Maybe you're just at your computer, you get a text message from somebody, you're driving. We had a huge pileup here in Michigan this yesterday. You're stuck on the highway for hours. All of these various little things happen. So you're not moving, but what's that fat doing? It's building in your torso. It's building in your arteries. It's also building in a little fatty hump at the top of your shoulder blades. Um, my hypothesis for why that is growing is that our brain needs a ton of fat to operate. Our brain is fat. And so if we don't have enough fat, we're not taking in fat, this fatty hump here is to make sure that we can still operate. Our brain can still operate if we can't get to food. So you need to think back to tribal times, to millennia ago, where we would be chased by a tiger stuck in a cave, and the tiger's prowling outside there, like we can't get to food. So the fight or flight mechanisms are all designed to make sure that you can survive. You can survive a threat. So the heart one, again, if we're not using all that energy right away, then we're building fat in our arteries, we're building fat in our torso. That fat is because we think we need it. There's another little sneaky thing going on, and I don't hear many people talk about it. I've seen it in a little bit of research, but there are two mechanisms that happen brain-wise, at least two, could be more. We're always discovering new things. Some of the research that I've found is like brand new discoveries on the brain. A lot of great neuroscience going on, but one of the mechanisms is instant a nerve instantly telling the adrenal glands to release this flood of hormones. But there's second operation. It's the HPA. It's the HPA axis, but what's actually going down is that the outer skin of the cortex is being told that it's time to make more cortisone and hydrocortisone. Those are two hormones that are going to go out later to fix the brain cells and the cells here, our extremities, our feet, our hands, for later. One of the things, in order to make hydrocortisone and cortisone, you need more cholesterol. So more cholesterol is going to start to be built up in the body too. So it's like several effects on the heart, if you will. These hormones also cause a lot of inflammation. So um, areas of the body can get very inflamed. And certainly that's a thing that several of my clients have experienced where like inflammation in the face, inflammation in the body just starts to dissipate. It just amazing how that starts to happen. When the second flood of hormones goes out, it actually expands your fat cells. So the fat cells that we've built in the center of our body here are actually going to get plumper. Again, because there's this thought that we're not going to be able to get to food for a while. So we need to have these fat stores to survive. So when we untangle and unwind all that, and we stop releasing these floods of hormones, our heart can function so much better. There's less inflammation, there's less buildup of fat in the arteries, there's less cholesterol being produced in general in the body. Cholesterol is a natural thing that is being created in our body for all sorts of processes that we need, including the production of cortisol and cortisone and hydrocortisone. So, so with all that in mind, if we lift up the hood, one of the things you can ask yourself is, do you have high blood pressure? Are you on any sort of heart medications? Um, is there anything strange going on with your heart? Um, that can be a clue. So you could be very calm and confident on the outside, but when we lift up the hood, there's something going on. In my CEO book, I talk about Ranjan Das and this book right here. This book right here. Um, Ranjan Das was a CEO of SAP, an executive at SAP in India. He was 42. He was a marathoner. He was a film writer. He's quite the polymath. And this up-and-coming executive. He was actually featured on a show just before his death on Great Bosses and showed him working out. He works out every day. And it was actually during a workout at his gym that he had a cardiac arrest and passed away. Um, what I think is interesting about that is in all the writings about him, they talk about that he wasn't getting enough sleep because they're saying, oh, he ate a really great diet and he exercised every day. Aren't those the things that keep our heart healthy? But one of the things that can happen is that, especially if you're training for marathons, if you're an executive doing what he was doing during a very difficult time, so there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, according to his colleagues, and we're building some of those fat stores in our arteries, and the arteries that have like it's along the lining that can chip off, and that might have been what had caused his cardiac arrest. So. So you can be having the greatest diet and be working out, but if you're triggering the stress response, even in your workouts, if you're elevating in a heart rate that's moving into fight or flight, then you're going to be doing all of these other things to your body, the side effects of the stress hormones, in addition to what you're doing in your workouts. And so I really try to help people find the sweet spot of their heart rate. And yes, you can build your capacity for that, um, so that you can perform at a higher level. Make sure you're not triggering a high, so high a heart rate that you're going into fight or flight. But the heart is such a precious thing. It's what did I hear? I heard someone mention recently that Like it continues to beat when it's outside of the body. That's why transplants can continue and things like that. But it's like this marvelous organ. And how we take care of it and how stress affects it, or rather, stress hormones affect it. Um, that's the key. That's the key. So you can start to protect your heart. You can start to protect all of your organs um, when you refrain from triggering fight or flight. Another thing that I think the reason this is called the silent killer is that, um, again, a lot of people that I work with, they love stressors, they love challenges, they're in leadership positions, like you're working hard, you're doing these things, um, and you'll hear the phrase "pressure makes diamonds." And when I hear that phrase, here's what goes through my head: but diamonds are dead. They're not living, breathing, right? Their electrons are moving, but at a very, very different rate than ours need to. Very, very different electrical being, if you will. Um, and so we're living human beings, we're breathing, we're moving. How do we how do we refrain from releasing these hormones so that we can perform even better? Um, a lot of times people are unaware of the subconscious ways they're triggering the stress response. So sometimes people come to me, and for myself too, like I didn't even think I needed my own method. I thought I was a pretty calm person. I was so wrong. I wasn't. Because when we trigger those stress hormones, we don't even see some of the ways we're behaving. We're not even aware because all that we're really focused on is where the threat is coming from. That changes leadership tremendously. That changes how we are in our family life. Things that we might get upset about, we would never get upset about it unless we were triggered by the stress hormones. So sometimes the triggers are very subtle. They're not what you would think would ever cause these releases of hormones. And I think that's the real reason why it's called the silent killer, is because of that. So if you have any issues with your heart, if something's going on here, you're on high blood pressure medications, your test results are just not what you want them to be, even though you may work out and eat well, um, there's it's probably the release of stress hormones that is the real culprit here, less so what you eat and how you exercise. So I'm happy to have a conversation with you because this matters. It really matters. And when I think about how my father, he survived his first heart attack, but the second heart attack took him. Um, I wish I could go back in time to teach this all to him because, and to my mother who died of cancer, which is a stress-based disease too. Sneaky. It's a sneaky disease. Um, both of those have their root in the effects of these stress hormones. So I wish you a great pressure-free day. Your heart matters, and I will see you tomorrow.